What is your main reflection, also based on today's discussion, on the current gaps and areas of improvement for future implementation of the Right to Food guidelines?
I think our conversation today gave us many points of reflection. I think the first is that there is widespread agreement that the right to adequate food is a fundamental framework to help guide action on these important issues now and moving forward. And in my view, the voluntary guidelines and the international human rights framework of which they are a part actually offer us a blueprint to address our current challenges as well as the significant challenges that we face on these issues together as a global community. There are also many gaps that we need to address that came to the fore in today's conversation. The first is the need to ensure policy coherence at the global level. States are paramount actors, as are their human rights obligations, but it is not just states who are involved in setting policies and programs that affect the right to adequate food for so many millions of people. In particular, the private sector, international financial institutions, and foreign governments have a key role to play, and their human rights responsibilities and obligations have to be part of the conversation. We have to ensure an end to regime conflicts so that a country's trade and debt and investment obligations are not in conflict with its human rights obligations, but rather are affording the space to give priorities to countries to fulfill their human rights obligations, in particular as it concerns the right to adequate food. Another gap, or I should say challenge, I think comes in implementing what is now a widely accepted paradigm or idea that investment in agriculture has to be geared toward small-scale farming and, of course, towards agroecological practices, and that the role of women as small-scale producers and caregivers in the home has to be honored and respected in that process as well. In order to make that commitment a reality, we once again need to not proceed with business as usual, but fundamentally shift our thinking about food production. It's not just how much, but how we produce the food, for whom, and with what nutritional value. Finally, I think the reflections that came in particular from civil society groups, including small-scale producers or pastoralists themselves today, and indigenous community members, offered us profound moments of reflection. And here, the demand is simple, and it's a demand that I've heard again and again doing this work. It is to be able to feed oneself with dignity and to have agency over decisions and resources that are so critical to one's survival. That desire and aspiration was articulated again and again, and in order for it to become a reality, we need to ensure that the communities that are most affected by our global food system, which is in need of work and repair, that those communities have a meaningful voice and effective participation in these conversations, and not just at the end stage of policy deliberations or once the agenda has been decided, but at an agenda setting stage. They also remind us profoundly that the right to food is not just about our relationships with governments or each other, but it's about our relationship with the planet and with nature, and respecting that relationship and learning from the knowledge of those who know so much about it, I think will help inform us all. But there's much to look forward to and many challenges that we must come together as a global community to overcome.